What if I told you that the most powerful weapon the United States ever built was not a bomb, not a battleship, and not a missile, but a road? A relentless ribbon of concrete stretching farther than most people can imagine, cutting through deserts, mountains, and cities with surgical precision. This was not simply construction. It was a campaign, a continental siege against distance itself. Entire hills were blasted into dust, rivers were forced to change direction, and communities were uprooted so that trucks could move faster than ever before. The project demanded courage, sacrifice, and a level of engineering audacity rarely seen in human history. And when the dust finally settled, the world that existed before those roads was gone forever. This is the story of how a nation decided that speed was power, distance was weakness, and that the only way forward was to reshape the land beneath its feet. It is a story about ambition so bold that it transformed daily life, commerce, and identity itself, proving that sometimes the greatest revolutions are not fought with weapons, but built with concrete. In the early 20th century, America was a country bursting with energy, but trapped by geography. Vast distances separated farms from factories, ports from markets, and families from opportunity. The land was rich, the people were determined, but movement was painfully slow and unpredictable. What should have been a journey of days often turned into weeks of frustration and danger. Mud swallowed tires, bridges collapsed under heavy loads, and sudden storms could isolate entire communities for months. The nation had grown powerful, yet it remained physically divided. Leaders began to realize that unless America found a way to connect itself, its future as a global superpower would remain uncertain. Before the Great Highway System existed, traveling across the United States felt like crossing a frontier every single time. Drivers navigated narrow dirt roads that twisted unpredictably through farmland and wilderness. Rainstorms transformed simple routes into muddy trenches where vehicles became hopelessly stuck. During harsh winters, snow buried roads so deeply that entire regions vanished from the map for weeks at a time. Families packed extra food, tools, and blankets because they never knew when the journey might turn dangerous. Every mile carried uncertainty, and every trip demanded patience and resilience. For businesses, the situation was even more severe. Delivering goods from one state to another required careful planning and enormous expense. Trucks broke down frequently, shipments arrived late, and perishable products often spoiled before reaching their destination. A farmer could grow the finest produce in the country, yet still struggle to sell it because transportation was unreliable. Factories operated below capacity because raw materials arrived inconsistently. Retail stores faced empty shelves while warehouses overflowed with unsold inventory. The nation possessed incredible resources, but its ability to move those resources remained painfully limited. Military leaders watched this problem with growing concern. They understood that in times of war, speed and coordination could determine victory or defeat. During military exercises in the 1940s, convoys attempting to cross the country encountered the same obstacles as civilian drivers. Vehicles crawled along broken roads, bridges struggled to support heavy equipment, and communication between units became chaotic. A journey that should have taken days stretched into weeks. Commanders realized that if a national emergency ever occurred, the country might not be able to mobilize quickly enough to defend itself. One man in particular became deeply troubled by this vulnerability. As a young officer, he had experienced firsthand the frustration of traveling across the United States with a military convoy that moved at a painfully slow pace. Years later, after witnessing the efficiency of modern highways in Europe during wartime, he became convinced that America needed a similar system. He believed that a connected nation would be stronger, safer, and more prosperous. His vision was not simply about transportation. It was about national survival in an unpredictable world. When the plan for a nationwide highway network finally emerged, it shocked even the most ambitious engineers. The proposal called for building tens of thousands of miles of durable roads capable of handling heavy trucks, military vehicles, and endless streams of civilian traffic. These roads would cross deserts, climb mountains, and stretch across vast plains without interruption. They would be designed with consistent standards so that drivers could travel long distances without confusion or delay. The scale of the project was unprecedented, and the cost seemed almost unimaginable. Yet leaders recognized that the investment would reshape the nation for generations. Construction began with an intensity that resembled a military operation. Survey teams spread across the country, mapping terrain and identifying the most efficient routes. Engineers studied soil composition, weather patterns, and traffic projections to ensure that each road would remain reliable for decades. Bulldozers roared to life, carving pathways through forests and rocky hillsides. Dynamite shattered stubborn stone formations that stood in the way of progress. Workers labored day and night, driven by a sense of urgency that transformed the landscape at an astonishing pace. Mountains presented some of the greatest challenges. Building a road across steep terrain required careful planning and extraordinary precision. Engineers calculated the exact slope that heavy trucks could safely climb without losing momentum. Too steep, and vehicles would struggle to ascend. Too shallow, and construction costs would skyrocket. To achieve the perfect balance, crews blasted tunnels through solid rock and built massive bridges that spanned deep valleys. Every decision demanded creativity, discipline, and unwavering determination. Rivers created another formidable obstacle. Instead of simply crossing them, engineers often needed to redirect their flow or reinforce surrounding banks to prevent flooding. Massive concrete pillars were driven deep into the riverbed to support sturdy bridges capable of carrying thousands of vehicles each day. Specialized equipment operated in dangerous conditions, surrounded by rushing water and shifting currents. Workers faced constant risk, yet they continued pushing forward because the mission was too important to abandon. Behind the scenes, logistics teams coordinated an army of workers and machines scattered across the nation. Thousands of trucks delivered cement, steel, and gravel to construction sites operating simultaneously in dozens of states. Scheduling became a complex puzzle where delays in one location could disrupt progress hundreds of miles away. Communication networks expanded to keep supervisors informed and maintain steady momentum. The project demanded organization on a scale rarely attempted in peacetime. Innovation played a crucial role in accelerating construction. Engineers developed new paving machines capable of laying smooth layers of concrete faster than ever before. These massive machines moved steadily along prepared surfaces, pouring and leveling material with remarkable precision. Crews discovered techniques for reinforcing pavement so that it could withstand heavy traffic and extreme weather conditions. Each breakthrough reduced construction time and improved durability, bringing the vision of a connected nation closer to reality. As miles of highway stretched across the landscape, the effects became visible almost immediately. Cities located near major routes experienced rapid growth as businesses recognized new opportunities. Warehouses expanded, factories increased production, and transportation companies invested in larger fleets of trucks. Workers relocated to areas where jobs were plentiful, fueling population booms in regions that had once been quiet and isolated. The highways acted like powerful magnets, drawing energy and investment wherever they reached. At the same time, communities bypassed by the new routes faced unexpected hardship. Small towns that once thrived on passing travelers suddenly watched traffic disappear overnight. Gas stations closed, restaurants struggled to survive, and local economies began to shrink. Residents who had built their lives around steady streams of customers found themselves confronting an uncertain future. The same system that created prosperity in one place could quietly drain vitality from another. The highways also transformed daily life for ordinary families. Weekend trips became easier, vacations became more adventurous, and visiting relatives in distant states became a routine part of modern living. Families loaded their cars with luggage, snacks, and excitement as they set out on journeys that once seemed impossible. Children gazed out the windows at endless landscapes passing by in a blur of motion. The sense of isolation that had defined rural life began to fade as communities connected to the broader world. Businesses quickly adapted to the new reality of fast transportation. Manufacturers learned that they no longer needed to store large quantities of goods in warehouses. Instead, they could produce items as needed and ship them directly to customers within days or even hours. This approach reduced costs, increased efficiency, and allowed companies to respond quickly to changing demand. The concept became known as a streamlined supply chain, and it revolutionized commerce across the nation. Yet progress came with consequences that few people anticipated. In many cities, entire neighborhoods were demolished to make room for wide highways and towering interchanges. Families who had lived in the same community for generations received notices ordering them to relocate. Bulldozers arrived soon after, tearing down homes, schools, and local businesses to clear space for construction. Streets that once echoed with laughter and conversation fell silent as residents scattered to unfamiliar areas. Urban planners believed that prioritizing automobile travel would create a more efficient society. They designed sprawling suburbs connected by wide roads and ample parking spaces. People embraced the freedom of owning cars and commuting to work from comfortable homes outside crowded city centers. Shopping malls replaced neighborhood markets, and drive-in restaurants became popular gathering places. The landscape evolved rapidly, reshaped by the assumption that mobility equaled progress. Environmental impacts gradually became impossible to ignore. As traffic increased, so did the consumption of fuel and the release of exhaust into the atmosphere. Highways cut through forests, wetlands, and wildlife habitats, disrupting ecosystems that had existed for centuries. Noise from constant traffic echoed across once quiet landscapes. Communities began to question whether the benefits of convenience justified the environmental cost. Despite these challenges, the highway system continued to expand and evolve. Engineers introduced safety features such as guardrails, reflective signs, and improved lighting to reduce accidents. Maintenance crews worked tirelessly to repair worn pavement and ensure smooth travel conditions. Governments invested billions of dollars to preserve the network that had become essential to national prosperity. The roads were no longer just infrastructure. They were lifelines connecting every corner of the country. Today, decades after the first highways were completed, their influence extends far beyond national borders. The principles developed during construction inspired similar projects around the world. Countries adopted standardized road designs, efficient traffic management systems, and coordinated logistics strategies. Global trade accelerated as goods moved faster between factories, ports, and consumers. What began as a domestic initiative evolved into a model for modern transportation on a planetary scale. In recent years, a new chapter has begun to unfold. Aging sections of highway require modernization to handle increasing traffic and emerging technologies. Engineers are installing sensors that monitor road conditions in real time, allowing maintenance teams to respond quickly to potential problems. Researchers are testing innovative materials designed to last longer and reduce environmental impact. The network continues to adapt, proving that even the most ambitious achievements must evolve to remain relevant. Another groundbreaking development involves the preparation of dedicated lanes for autonomous vehicles. These self-driving trucks rely on advanced navigation systems to travel safely and efficiently without human intervention. By reducing driver fatigue and improving coordination, autonomous technology promises to transform logistics once again. Freight that once required days to deliver may soon arrive within hours, reshaping supply chains and consumer expectations across the globe. Looking back, it becomes clear that the creation of the highway system represented more than an engineering triumph. It was a bold declaration that humanity could reshape the physical world to meet its needs. The project demanded courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief in progress. Workers endured harsh conditions, communities faced difficult choices, and leaders accepted enormous responsibility. Together, they forged a network that redefined distance, speed, and possibility. But here's the question that still echoes today. If a single network of roads could transform a nation and reshape global commerce, what will happen when the next generation of technology pushes transportation beyond human control? Will autonomous systems create a future of seamless efficiency, or will they introduce challenges we have yet to imagine? The answers are already taking shape beneath our wheels. If this story changed the way you see the roads around you, take a moment to support the journey of discovery. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments about the most incredible road trip you have ever taken. Your engagement helps bring more untold stories of history, engineering, and human ambition to life. Every mile of highway carries the memory of people who dared to dream bigger than the obstacles in front of them. They looked at mountains and saw tunnels, at rivers and saw bridges, and at distance itself and saw opportunity. Their work reminds us that progress is never easy, never simple, and never without sacrifice. Yet when determination meets vision, even the vastest continent can be transformed into a connected pathway of possibility. And the road ahead is still being built.